Hello beer tubers and welcome to another beer review with me, Peter, the master of hoppets, kicking off a series of reviews of American pumpkin ales. I've wanted to do this since the inception of this channel. I don't know, but it's a style, pumpkin ale, or yam beer, or whatever people call them, that I've been so intrigued by. In the States, there's this big thing with a lot of brewers making beers with either yams or pumpkins. And they've always been notoriously hard to get in Europe because they were not really in tune to the European palate, so importers never imported them because they had loads of festive spices and they were imitating pies. But these days, things have changed and the people want pastry. This is the original pastry beer, really. So a web shop called J&B's Craft Drinks from the Netherlands. I found it, and they had, I actually followed them on Instagram because they get a lot of American IPAs and stuff like that from the East Coast. But then all of a sudden they made a post like, we have a huge selection of pumpkin ales for the festive season or the Halloween season, the spooky season. And I was like, what? I need to see what they got. So we got like 7, I think, different pumpkin ales to try. They had and most of the ones I got were ones I kind of knew of already, or it's a mix of like classic brewers and modern craft brewers. There was also a few I'd never heard of that they had on there. The only one they didn't have was Schlafly's Pumpkin Ale, which I think a lot of people think is like one of the best. But let's see. I mean, there's some interesting ones in the mix. So this American style, I think it originated with Dogfish Head maybe, and their pumpkin ale. So it's basically, the base beer for it is an ale of sorts. It's usually malt focused. It can be darker, lighter in color, kind of look a bit like this. It's a bit lighter than a Vienna lager. And then it features pumpkin or pumpkin spices, or both. And pumpkin spices meaning pumpkin pie spice. And pumpkin pie spice has made it to Europe. I mean, Starbucks is everywhere here now, and even in Denmark. For like when Starbucks came around, one of the first things that they did on the menus was adding these seasonal one offerings. And so now you can get pumpkin spice lattes in Denmark. You couldn't in the past. And this is inspired by said drink. So that's not with pumpkin, but I'm guessing this might be, I'm not sure. It says a pumpkin ale, so that means it's usually brewed with pumpkin. But this is from Left Hand Brewing Company, and this is their Pumpkin Spice Latte Nitro Edition. So Left Hand is really good at making nitro beers. I remember when I studied in the States, you could get their milk stout on nitro, and I think they've done a lot since on nitro, and they do that really well. Nitro meaning that the can is with liquid nitrogen instead, which creates a very nice thick-looking head and that cascading effect when you pour it, just like Guinness. But you will have a loss of carbonation because the feeling of CO2 is not there and not the same because the bubbles are so tiny. But what's awesome with it, it will create this luxurious silky feel. You know it from Guinness, and I like it a lot because I grew up on Guinness. Like, it was one of those beers I tried way back in all like these nitro Irish dry stouts when I was getting into craft beer. So I don't mind a nitro beer. I actually like getting something like Guinness or Porterhouse or something like that once in a while. It's brewed with a blend of cinnamon, ginger, nutmeg, and allspice combined with pumpkin and Oso Ursus major coffee. So that's awesome. And then they add toasted malts to impart notes of caramel sweetness with oats and lactose to add richness. And then with the whole nitro. To me, that sounds pretty good. 2-row, malted oats, carafoams, caramel 40, and rolled oats, Apollo hops, lactose, pumpkin, coffee, and the spices. Wow. That's awesome. I love that. All the info on the website. Let's dive in. First pumpkin ale in years. Literally. I think I even traded for pumpkin back in the day or something like Pumpkin. And that's also out there along with Warlock. And I think Pumpkin was my original favorite pumpkin ale. But I've heard they made some really terrible variants in recent times. But let's start the pumpkin charade and drink some pumpkin ales. This looks nice in the glass. Lightly hazy, gourdy color. It's lightly orange. It's got a very nice looking like Guinness type head. It almost reminds me of Buddingtons or something like that from back in the day when you can get that beer still. But let's check out the aroma on this one. Oh, this smells exactly like a pumpkin spice latte from Starbucks. But it still smells like beer. And that's one of the things I also love about it. Like, it's not so over the top. Like it's got a lot of stuff going on, but it has like crackery, malty sweetness. And there's pumpkin. It's not a lot, but there is like this earthiness or, you know, like squash-like pumpkin aroma, just lightly. And it, for some reason, raw pumpkin especially, reminds me a little bit of almost cucumber, like more of a robust cucumber. And saying that is because I'm actually roasting pumpkin right now to make pumpkin puree for making pumpkin pie tomorrow, where I'll try some more other beers with pumpkin pie. Because you can't really, well, I think maybe you can find canned pumpkin puree, but might as well make it yourself, especially when you got small Hokkaido pumpkins everywhere, super cheap right now. But yeah, it smells literally like if you dunked kind of like almost like a Vienna lager or something, and mixed that with like a Starbucks pumpkin spice latte. It's coffee, it's spice, it's like cinnamon, ginger. I mean, I'm getting all the spices, nutmeg, allspice. It's so well balanced. Not really smelling the lactose. It's really got a nice crackery bread crusty thing. I think this smells like a banging pumpkin spice beer, pumpkin spice latte. And I love the addition of the coffee. Like, you have to be into hefty fall spices, though. It has loads of fall spice, but I love fall spices. And that's also a thing that a lot of European beer drinkers, at least in the past, didn't like too much. But I think the only European pumpkin ale I've reviewed has been by Pojala. And who else did one? I think Sudden Death might have done one last year where they just made it like crazy, where it looks like a milkshake or something like that. Like the milkshake IPAs. This smells really good. Let's try it. Cheers. So the flavor nails it better than the aroma, but it's still tasty. It's still quite tasty. The flavor is like dead on pumpkin spice latte. I'm like, what? There's a lot of like cold brew type flavor going on in the flavor. And the lactose is just right. It's just a touch of sweetness. And then lots of bready, kind of bread crusty, and also pie crust-ish flavors from the malt. It's not as robust as like a Vienna lager. It's lighter than that, actually. But it's really interesting with the nitro. It's almost like if you've ever had like nitro cold brew. It's similar to that. This sip here, I got more of the pumpkin spice. Interesting. I'm not really tasting the pumpkin because it's so heavy on spice. But I think this is really nice. And like, you guys can be like, oh, come on, Peter. I don't care. Like, I actually really enjoy this. I'm totally a basic white girl when it comes to this. Like, I love these festive, I should have Ugg boots and, you know, go to Starbucks all the time. I love this flavor profile. I think this is really good. What a good beer to start out with. It's a really fun take on a pumpkin spice beer. And it tastes like a pumpkin spice latte with the coffee and everything. And what's also really fun is that like it's so nailed, but it still also tastes like a beer. Like it's pretty impressive that it's like there's so much spice and everything in there, but you could still taste like all the malts and everything. Oh, I can really feel that bite of ginger, and it's all the ginger, nutmeg, allspice, cinnamon, like everything. Clove. It's like that melange of fall spices you put in your pie mix, and make a pumpkin pie. Exactly that. And then a very luxurious mouthfeel. Like, again, it feels a bit dull because there's not a lot of carbonation because of that, but it has like that silky lushness to it, which you kind of get in a pumpkin spice latte because it has milk or cream or whatever they put in. I'm gonna give this a 90. I really dig it. I actually didn't know what to think. I knew I'd probably like it a little bit, but there's such a variety of these beers. And I know a lot of people, there's a few that are not that great. But the quality is very up and down depending on brewery. But I'm impressed with this. And like the nitro really does wonders for this, I think. It makes it so pillowy and silky. But man, the spice factor is... But if you've never had pumpkin ales and you want to explore pumpkin ales and see what they're about, they might not be for you, but check out J&B Craft Drinks I found them on Instagram, and they sell a plethora of different pumpkin ales. So I think if right now is the season, go and see if you can get some. Check them out because it is a fun style and something you never see in Europe. So yeah, straight 90 for Left Hand Brewing Company's pumpkin spice latte. The Left Hand Brewing Company, that sounded weird. Also, the ABV is perfectly well hidden. I mean, I don't taste anything. It's also 7%. It's like an IPA, but yeah, tasty stuff. But yeah, I've rambled on for too long. The videos are getting so long, man. Sorry about that. But yeah, great stuff, I think. If you love pumpkin spice, like full spice things, you'll love this. So a 90 for Left Hand's pumpkin spice Latte Nitro edition. Tasty stuff. If you guys had this one, let me know what you thought of it. This is the 23 vintage. And so yeah, let me know. As always, remember to comment, subscribe, check out the Facebook fan page and Twitter and Instagram. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and ring the bell for future notifications about videos. And I want to say cheers and some delicious pumpkin ale, and see you guys in another beer review.